refused to change my wedding.
Date for my brother's alley.
Retreat. So my parents boycotted. It. Teach me humility. Dad said, I didn't beg, I didn't cry. Until my wife stood up at the reception and said, 200 guests in the room went quiet. My wife and I booked our wedding venue 14 months in advance. It was a stunning estate, fully paid for and non-refundable. 3 months before the date, my younger brother Julian dropped a bomb. He was hosting an exclusive life coaching retreat in Bali. On my wedding weekend, Julian had always been the golden child. He was an influencer, a visionary, a dreamer. I was the reliable older son who stayed behind to work a corporate job and keep my head down. When I told my parents I couldn't move my wedding date, my father didn't even raise his voice. His tone was ice. Arthur, your brother is building a brand. He said, you're just having a party. Change the date. I can't, Dad, I replied calmly. We lose $80,000, and Clara's family already booked their international flights. My father looked at me like I was a stubborn child refusing to hand over a toy. Then we won't be attending, he said, and neither will your aunts, your uncles, or your cousins. I'll personally fund their tickets to Bali, so they can support someone doing something real with his life. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just watched him. Maybe sitting in an empty room will teach you some humility, Dad added, leaning in. You've always thought you were better than Julian just because you make money. He thought I'd break. He thought I'd beg, cry, and reschedule to keep the family together. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I simply hung up the phone. For 3 months, my parents orchestrated a total boycott. Every relative on my side sent back their RSVP with a polite cold decline. Julian posted daily countdowns to his transformation weekend in Bali. My father posted videos buying first-class tickets for the entire extended family. I let him talk. Clara and I didn't spend a single second trying to convince anyone to stay. On the day of the wedding, the sun was clear. The estate was breathtaking. My father thought I'd be walking down the aisle in front of vacant chairs. He thought the silence of my side of the aisle would crush me. What he didn't know was that Clara and I didn't leave those seats empty. We filled every single one of them with high net worth investors, managing partners, and corporate board members from my father's industry. Men and women my father had spent 30 years trying to get into a room with. The ceremony was quiet, elegant, and perfect. I didn't shed a tear. I held my wife's hand, made my vows, and smiled. Then came the reception. 200 guests filled the grand ballroom. The atmosphere was charged, sophisticated, and undeniably powerful. When it came time for speeches, Clara took the microphone. She looked radiant, completely unbothered, and entirely in control. She tapped a glass. The room fell into absolute silence. Thank you all for being here, Clara began, her voice echoing clearly across the speakers. As many of you know, my husband's immediate family couldn't join us tonight. They are currently in Bali. A soft murmur rippled through the room. Arthur's father told him 3 months ago that being left alone on his wedding day would teach him humility. Clara continued. Her face remained smooth, her expression chillingly gentle. He believed that without his blessing, Arthur had nothing. She paused, taking a slow breath, letting the weight of the moment sink into the 200 people watching her. What my father-in-law failed to realize is that Arthur didn't get his financial independence from him. For the past 5 years, Arthur has quietly funded his brother's failed business ventures out of pocket to protect his parents' retirement fund. You could hear a pin drop. And when his father threatened to boycott this wedding, Clara said softly, Arthur didn't panic. He simply stopped signing the checks. Clara pulled a small black velvet folder from behind the podium. As of 5 o'clock this evening, the trust funding Julian's Bali retreat was dissolved, as Arthur held the sole execution rights. Right now, as we speak, my father-in-law's corporate credit cards are being declined at his 5-star resort, and the venue Julian booked has officially canceled their event for non-payment. She looked straight into the camera of our wedding videographer, who was live streaming the speech directly to the family group chat. Dad, Clara said, addressing the screen directly, you wanted Arthur to learn humility tonight, but it turns out you're the one paying the bill. She lifted her glass. To Arthur, a man who never needs to yell to be heard. The room erupted. 200 of the most influential people in the city stood up and applauded. I looked down at my phone resting on the head table. It was vibrating continuously. Dozens of missed calls from my father. Dozens of panicked texts from Julian. I didn't answer. I turned my phone face down, picked up my champagne glass, and took a slow, quiet sip next to my wife.